מלאכי המלאכים הקדוש ברוך הוא הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is wonderful to come together to celebrate Shabbat, whether you are here in person with us, or again, as I like to say, joining us through the magic of the internet. It's always wonderful to come together in community to celebrate this holy day of Shabbat, this wonderful day of rest and joy that we get to have each and every week. And because this is the first Shabbat of the month, that means we will get to celebrate our May birthdays, maybe one or two sprinkled from April as well. But we'll celebrate our May birthdays a little bit later in our service. But I also am so happy to invite up to our Bima to celebrate their 50th anniversary, Paul and Barb Melnick, who will light our Shabbat candles for us. And so we turn to page 120 in our prayer book. And if you happen to have the smaller prayer book with you, you're looking at the larger numbers in blue.
As these Sabbath candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, who sanctifies us with mitzvot and commands us to kindle the light of Sabbath.
Amen. Amen. And if you haven't noticed, David Cohen, our dear assistant music director and accompanist, is not with us. He's a little bit under the weather, but he's doing just fine. And as soon as our feedback really calms down, we'll be able to stand now on page 123. That could have actually been an amen from God coming through the system. We don't know that, but let's just take that on faith. And on page 123, we will stand for the Kiddush, but on page 122, we now hear the introductory words taken from the book of Genesis, chapter 1.
Go for it.
And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. The heaven and the earth were finished all their way. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing, and God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased all work of creation that God had done.
And we sing together now the Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodesho, be'ahavav ratzon, hinechilanu, zikaro lema'aseh v'reshit. Ki hu yom techiro, ekro ekodesh, zecher letzihot Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'charto ve'otanu, kirashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'veratzon הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. And we say together Shabbat Shalom, L'chaim, and please be seated.
And now you face the ark. Exactly. Now that you lit our candles and helped us welcome in Shabbat, now we get to bless the two of you. May the God who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless Paul and Barb, who are here in gratitude for all the kindness and blessings that God has given to them since their wedding day 50 years ago.
You have been privileged to build a Jewish home, harboring love and harmony, peace and companionship. May your marriage covenant continue to be strengthened by love, by peace, and by mutual respect.
And may God protect you, and may you further enjoy God's blessings in the years to come, embraced by the love of your children, family, and friends, so that you may always live in peace and companionship. And we say together as a congregation, Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And one more blessing. 50 years ago, under the chuppah, you received a very ancient blessing, which we still offer today to the two of you, the priestly benediction. And this is a blessing of the generations. So likely there are people who were blessing you on that day who are here in spirit, though they are no longer here. And so they too are blessing you along with your family who was not the family here, who were not standing there. They were just glimmers 50 years ago.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's light shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. And may the presence of God in your lives continue to surround you. And may God's presence continue to bring you peace as individuals and as a couple in your hearts, in your minds, as well as in your home. And to that we all say, Amen.
Amen.
And now we say, Mazal
Mazal
Tov.
Tov.
You may kiss him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Just what such joyous ways to begin Shabbat. That really is the spirit that we try to capture on these days. And so, I'll say it again. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Last week, we had a guest speaker. Dr. Ilan Ezrahi spoke about the current and future relationship between the Jewish communities in Israel and around the world, particularly those of us here in the United States. As part of his presentation, Dr. Ezrahi mentioned an important statistic. Presently, there are about 16 million Jews worldwide. About 7.5 million in Israel, about 7.5 million here in the United States, and there are about 1 million Jews in the rest of the world. Over the past week, I've spoken to many in our congregation, many of you, who were somewhat shocked by this statistic, particularly that there are only about 1 million to 1.5 million Jews in Europe, South America, Australia, and the rest of the world combined. While this may be surprising, I believe that this actually misses the point of Dr. Ezrahi's statistic and why he chose to share it in the first place. Rather than focus on the scarcity of Jews around the world, we ought to focus on the 7.5 million Jews that reside in each Israel and the United States. And particularly, I would suggest, we ought to focus on those 7.5 million Jews who live here in America. Us. Dr. Ezrahi said it last week. We as American Jews have a deep fascination with Jewish communities living in other parts of the world, particularly the state of Israel. We are fascinated by and admire her story, her history, her culture, her politics. We lift up the Jewish state as we should and place it on a powerfully symbolic pedestal, holding it to a high standard. But too often, we do this at the expense of other important entities and understandings. One of Dr. Ezrachi's main points last week, especially if you stayed for the Q&A, was that one such entity that often gets lost in this type of connection are the Israelis themselves. We may know about Israel, again, her history, her story, her culture, her politics, but in general, we don't necessarily know Israelis. And even more so, Israelis don't necessarily know American Jews. We haven't built that type of ongoing relationship, nor that type of meaningful dialogue in any type of expansive way. And Dr. Ezrachi suggested that this would be a key step in helping to strengthen and grow our sense of Jewish peoplehood, both in Israel and in America. Tonight, I give you a second entity that gets lost in this typical mindset of American Jews, and a second step that would help strengthen our sense of Jewish peoplehood. While we as American Jews often lift up the state of Israel to symbolic prominence, sometimes at the expense of her people and her daily lives, we tend to do the opposite when it comes to ourselves. We focus so much on our daily lives here in America that we forget about the polity we are and the power we have, symbolically and real, as American Jews and Jewish Americans. Now, I have to be very clear and precise in explaining what I mean by polity. We, the American Jewish community, are not, I repeat, not a separate political entity in any way or form within the United States or around the world. Those who claim we are push decades-old anti-Semitic tropes and myths to spread their hateful, harmful, conspiratorial falsehoods. But that aside, we are, however, a distinct group of people with a collective identity unique to ourselves, both within American society and in the Jewish world. As Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, African Americans, Black, Indigenous, and people of color all have their own unique culture and heritage. We too, as American Jews, have our own unique heritage and culture. As Israel and Israeli Jews have their own specific history and future, we too, as Jewish Americans, have our own specific history and future. There is overlap for sure, shared pieces. That's what makes us American Jews and Jewish Americans. But we ought to, really we must, still celebrate and be proud of our unique, specific identities as well. The problem is, for so many American Jews, all too often we know more about Israel and her story than we know about our own. There are two great centers of Jewish life in the world today. Yes, one of them is Israel, but let's not forget the 7.5 million Jews living here in America. Again, that's us. So how do we strengthen our sense of Jewish peoplehood? By learning the history of the Jewish community in the United States, learning our history. By celebrating contributions made by American Jews to our country, our people, and our world. Our contributions. By being ambassadors for Judaism and the American Jewish experience within our own society and throughout the global Jewish community. And by carrying on these traditions and values, maintaining and growing the spirit, that is within and comes from our identity as American Jews and Jewish Americans. But all of this starts with that first step, knowing our history, where we came from, and who we are today. Lucky for us, and the reason why I chose this topic for tonight is that this Shabbat, really this past Monday, began National Jewish American Heritage Month. It goes for the entire month of May. Now, first of all, how many of you even knew that there was a National Jewish American Heritage Month? You don't count. Wonderful. Okay, for those of you who had your hands up, how many of you knew that it was May, that it was happening right now? Okay, wonderful. But for so many of us, it just tends not to be on our radars. But this month gives us an excuse to really dig in, to do some learning. While these awareness months, like Black History Month in February, Women's History Month in March, or Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which also happens to be May, tend to be thought of as outwardly focused, an opportunity to educate and raise awareness and appreciation in the broader American society for these minority and historically overlooked groups. They also provide us an opportunity to celebrate, be proud of, and strengthen and reinvigorate our own identities. So this May, and tonight, this Jewish American Heritage Month, let us do just that. Let's remember and be proud of who we are. In order to jumpstart us on this path, I want to share just a few fun facts and moments of our history. Because regardless of the topics you're interested in, no matter the area of society, American Jews have had an enormous and irreplaceable impact on our country and the world. And I hope that these tidbits of information might spark your curiosity to learn just a little bit more. So, number one, let's start with the beginning. While there were Jews on Columbus's famous journey, the first Jewish community in North America and what would become the United States began in 1654. 1654. When a group of Dutch Jews from Recife, Brazil, settled in New Amsterdam. Today, that's New York City. They were permitted to stay only on the condition that they not become a burden to the rest of the society. And today, we should be proud that the Jewish community in America has always worked hard not only to take care of our own fellow Jews, but have disproportionately provided aid for our fellow Americans also in need. Something to be proud of. Number two, jumping ahead 120 years to the founding of our nation. One of the primary financiers of the American Revolution was a Jewish man from Philadelphia named Chaim Solomon, who donated $650,000 of his own money, or the equivalent of $22.5 million today, to the cause. It is said that the six-pointed star that is on the back of the dollar was added by George Washington to honor Solomon and the contributions of the American Jewish community to the war. While this story is likely what we might call midrash, there is no debating Solomon's and the Jewish community's essential impact on the founding of our country. In particular, the final battles of the war were funded when the American Revolution was out of money. And when George Washington was told they were out of money, what he said is he ordered Robert Morris, send for Chaim Solomon. And Chaim Solomon raised the $20,000 necessary to fund that campaign at Yorktown and end the American Revolution. The U.S. wouldn't exist without the American Jewish community. Number 3, American Jews have been awarded the Nobel Prize 125 times, including multiple times in all 6 Nobel categories. We make up nearly 37% of all American recipients overall. Moreover, not only was Albert A. Michelson the first American Jew to win a Nobel Prize in 1907, he became the first American ever to win that award. Number 4, and actually many more than 4. Now for a few quick hitters, some of my favorites. Just on the fun side for a lot of them. The inventor of the Barbie doll and the first CEO of Mattel, Ruth Handler, was Jewish. Superman, perhaps the most famous comic book superhero, was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, both Jewish. And if you're more of a Marvel Comics fan, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who are the creators of the most famous Marvel superheroes, were born Stanley Martin Lieber and Jacob Kurtzberg. And of course, we're both Jewish. Now, if you're more of a sports fan, how about Sandy Koufax, Hank Greenberg, Sue Bird, Dolph Shays, Sid Luckman, Mark Spitz, Kerry Strug, Ali Reisman, and the list goes on, but that's just to name a few. Want to go out of this world? Judith Resnick was the first American Jew and only the second American woman to ever go to space. Unfortunately, she was also among the 7 killed in the Challenger disaster. Levi Strauss invented the modern blue jeans. Irving Berlin composed both God Bless America and White Christmas, among many others. Betty Friedan kicked off second-wave feminism with her book, The Feminine Mystique. Louis Brandeis was the first Jewish U.S. Supreme Court justice, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg was the first Jewish woman to serve as a Supreme Court justice. Again, the list can go on and on. There are so many more things that I can name, and there's something out there for everyone. But whatever your interest, find something to learn. Learn about our history and our heritage, who we are, where we come from, and maybe even where we're going. Moreover, use this learning to strengthen your Jewish identity and uplift your Jewish pride, and share it with those around you, both in the Jewish community and beyond. Let it inspire you to create and contribute as well, both to American society and to the Jewish people. By doing so, we can take another step to strengthen Jewish peoplehood here in the United States and throughout the world. This Shabbat and this Jewish American Heritage Month, may we embrace this challenge and recognize the opportunity we have to improve ourselves, our community, and impact each other and the world in better, more positive ways. So as we enter May, happy Jewish American Heritage Month, and as always, Shabbat Shalom. It's always wonderful to welcome in Shabbat, and we do so with a song, with a prayer, Lecha Dodi, which can be found on page 138.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yaradai, 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yaradai, 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 B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zacho Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, v'shemo letiferet, le'elah, le'adon, le'chad Shabbat לכובנך כי מקורה רעה מראש מקדם מצוחה סוף ומעשה במחשבה תחילה stand up now דודי ליבת קלה דה 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 בני שבת לקבלה הלבדו דירי בדקה דה 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 בני שבת לקבלה בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה לחדוני בת קלה דה 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 שבת לקבלה לחדוני בת קלה ידה דה ידה דה ידה דה שבת לקבלה.
We remain standing and turn to page 146 for the Baruch Hu.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך
On page 152, we join together in Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malechuto Le'olam
Please be seated as we turn to page 154 and join together in chanting Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך וברכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אמן.
We join together on the top of page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Page 158.
Kamoka ba'edim Adonai, Kamoka b'nedar ba'kodesh, Kamoka ba'edim Adonai, Kamoka nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tegilo, Osei pele, Kamoka ba'edim Adonai, Kamoka nedar ba'kodesh, Kamoka ba'edim Adonai, Kamoka nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilo, Osei fele malechutecha, Ba'uvanecha, Bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'eri anu ve'amru, Adonai no le'olam va'ed. Mikamoka ba'edim Adonai, Mikamoka nedar ba'kodesh, Mikamoka ba'edim Adonai, Mikamoka nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilo, Osei fele v'ne'emar kifada, Adonai et Yaakov, u'ki'alo miyad chazak mihimenu, Baruch atah Adonai Ka'al Yisrael. Mikamoka ba'edim Adonai, Mikamoka nedar ba'kodesh, Mikamoka ba'edim Adonai, Mikamoka nedar ba'kodesh.
On page 161 at the top of the page. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. And in celebration of Shabbat, we join in Vishamru on page 162.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'azot et ha-Shabbat le'dorot Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'azot et ha-Shabbat le'dorot olam. Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'azot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'azot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam berit olam. ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ עמדו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורות עמי עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורות עמי עולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל השבת לעשות את השבת לדורות עמי עולם ושמרו בני ישראל השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית
We turn to page 164, and I invite you to rise for the Amidah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagit tehillatcha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 166. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Etovim Vekonei Hakol V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'Himahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer Moshiach Umagen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'ezrat Sarah, page 168. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayeh hakol ata rav lehoshia, mohorid hatal, mekalkel chayim bechesed, mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, zomech nofrim v'rofech horim, umatir asorim, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו ארוך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני Mechayeh hakol. Page 170. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh ukadoshim b'chol yom yahalalu chasela. Baruch ata Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
And we turn in our prayer books to page 371. And as we come together tonight in community, as we come to end this week, hopefully to be uplifted, hopefully to let out a breath from this week, so too do we come for all sorts of reasons, and one of them is healing. And tonight, if you are thinking of somebody who is in need of healing, I invite you now to please rise. And together we are going to call aloud those names and add them to our prayer this evening. We take all of those names into our hearts, and may God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, as together we join in singing Mishaberach, our prayer for healing.
May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Bless those in need of healing with the Ruach Shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We take a moment for silent and personal prayer.
על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על ביתנו התינוקת, שמור לי הטוב. Page 651 if you want to follow along. על האש והמבוערת, על המים הזכים, על האיש והשב הביתה מן המרחקים, על כל אלה, על כל אלה, שמור נא לי אלי הטוב, על הדבש ועל והמתוק אתה נטוע אל תשכח את התקווה השיבני ואשובה על הארץ הטובה שמור לי על זה הבית על הגן ועל החומה, מיגון מפחד ופתח וממלחמה. שמור על המעט יש לי, על העול ועל הטף, על הפרי שלא הבשיל עוד ושנה אסף. על כל אלה, שמור נא לי עירי הטוב, על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר והמתוק, על נערות נטוע, אל תשכח את התקווה, השיבני ואשובה על הארץ הטובה. מרשש אילן ורוח, מרחוק ונשוק ירחב, משאלות ליבי וחושך נרשמות החישב. אנא שמור לי על כל אלה ועל אהוב נפשי, על השקט, על הלחי ועל זה השיר, על כל אלה, על כל אלה, שומע לי עירי הטוב, על הדבש ועל העוקץ, על המר את התקווה, על נטע כל נטוע, אל תשכח את התקווה, השיבני ואשובה על הארץ הטובה, אל הארץ
When you're sitting up here, it's sitting right with the choir. Everybody in your ear doing a great job. Shabbat Shalom. My name is David Kaiser. I am a member of the United Hebrew Board of Directors. I first want to thank Paul and Barb Melnick for sponsoring the oneg tonight, the dessert oneg. And I hear that it's an outstanding oneg and better than any fiesta that may be happening on Cinco de Mayo. So thank you very much for allowing us to share in this great simcha. Tomorrow at UH, the Torah study begins at 9 in the chapel or on Zoom. Shabbat morning service for the bat mitzvah of Ada Balka at 10:30 in the Millstone Sanctuary and on live stream. Mazel tov to Ada on becoming a bat mitzvah. Upcoming events. There's a lot of great things happening around here, so pay attention. There won't be a test, but please pay attention. Confirmation 2023-5783 on Saturday, May 20th at 9:30 in the Millstone Sanctuary. It'll be in here at 9:30 on that Saturday. Please note the time change for the Shabbat morning service on May 20th. Intergenerational game night on Wednesday, May 24th at 6 o'clock in the Kaplansky Center. Lots of things going on for Shavuot at UH. Thursday, May 25th, Tikkun Leo Shavuot. 6:30, Kolot Yisrael, Voice of Discussion, What's a Mitzvah? 7:30, Erev Shavuot service with Yitzker. 8:30, Shavuot Oneg. And 9 o'clock, late 9 Shavuot study session with Rabbi David Reinhardt. And I'm certain that there will be things that just tantalize the mind and want to rush the stage here while you're talking. Friday, May 26th, Shabbat service at 6 o'clock p.m. Save the date for Camp UH, an adult-only fundraiser on Saturday, August 26th. At Camp UH, you can play the adult way. And I was reminded a few weeks ago after I announced this at another service that there will be an open bar and a dinner buffet, and then I would say open bar again because knowing the crowd, but they said no, for a Jewish occasion, stress the buffet. So I'm going to say there's also going to be a dinner buffet. There's Color Wars, a dinner buffet, a craft table, a whiskey tasting. There's also an open bar. Games, photo booth, s'mores, prizes, and more. Keep a lookout for early bird pricing. And again, that's for August 26th, Camp UH. For more information on additional upcoming events and programs, please visit our website. Thank you to the tech team for again helping us stream another service today. You all do a great job. That's my team over there. And please check out our website or call the office for gift shop hours. Again, Shabbat Shalom, and thank you for joining us.
And it is the first Shabbat in May. Where are these months going? And we are celebrating birthdays. So we have some names up here of people celebrating birthdays in May, and a few that slipped in from April. And if we call your name, we ask you to stand so that you may be blessed. And if we don't call your name and you have a birthday in the month of May, then please feel free to stand as well. So, and those at home, if you have a birthday in May, stand up so we can bless you.
And happy birthday to Ramona or Lucy Newman. April 19th, she'll be 12 years old.
And Cassidy Newman on April 27th was 3 years old.
Jason Marks was born on May 8th, and he is years old.
And happy 65th birthday to Susie Weber on May 9th.
Josh Neal, May 15th, is celebrating a birthday.
And Mike Euchman will be the same age as himself, only a year older from last year.
On May 31st. And anybody else celebrating in this month, please feel free to stand for a blessing. All right, Zach and Ed.
And Ed.
Stand up, stand up. Lori has a birthday. And we offer this birthday blessing to all of you.
Yehi darkachem mivorach, may your way be blessed.
Ya'er alechem or ha'chochma, may wisdom's light shine upon you all.
Yitain lachem masechem shalom. And may each of your journeys throughout life bring to you the gift of peace. And to that we say, Amen.
Amen.
And we say to all of you, Ad mea ve'esrim, may you live to be 120, just as Moses did. And we now ask everybody else to rise with our birthday folks as we turn in our prayer books, to page 570, as we continue to count the Omer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Hayom shloshim yom shehem arba'a shavuot u'shnei yamim la'omer. Today is 30 days, which is 4 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. And we now continue on page 586 with Aleinu.
Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. page 591 ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. And we turn to page 595. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world. In each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. This Shabbat, the heartfelt condolences of our congregation go out to the families of Marcia Arki and Ruth Gorman. We are in the period of Shloshim for Samuel J. Bro, Danny Goldsmith, Bonnie Sue Laderman, Ben Lippitz. And this week, the Shabbat, we observe the yahrzeits and we lovingly remember Isabel S. Arbor, Samuel Bierman, Julia Becker, Harold Alvin Berger, Gussie Birnbaum, Francis Bleiweiss, Nancy Belosky, Morris Bornstein, Thomas E. Campbell, Alex Chackus, Jack A. Cohn, Julius Kohnberg, Elsie Deutsch, Patricia Routman-Eder, Richard Edwards, Philip Ellis, Shepard Ellis, Sadie H. Feldman, Paul Fishman, William Gentle, Marvin Gorman, Leopold Grossberg, Julia Schwartz Heller, Aaron Hoffman, Harry Huber, Maury D. Jacob, Erwin Jaffe, Dr. Milton H. Jasper, William J. Katz, Max Kaufman, Tilly Führer Kirschman, David H. Koslow, Esther D. Levi, Arlene Levy, Mark I. Levy, Robert Lumstein, Dorothy Mayer, Robert G. Marks, Anna Mathis, Terry Weber Miller, Robert Millstone, Jan Goldenberg Mintz, Adele A. Oglander, Joan Olschwanger, Nathan Peskin, Max S. Peon, Leon A. Preston, Boris Prus, Max Roman, Lenore S. Rosen, Rose Janet Rosenblatt, Milton Rosenthal, Aloysius Ross, Jordan Rudolph, Samuel J. Rusak, Lawrence Sandberg, Abe A. Schneider, Ray Schnerman, Mo Schwartz, Charles Sirks, Lucas B. Shanker, S. Richard Sherman, Jacob Jack Schipper, Maurice Norden Schreiber, Betty Siegel, Ruth Solomon, Sidney Sosna, Cecile Spielberg, Harry L. Stemisen, George Thomas, Hattie Weil Thurman, Sarah Urbach, Yetta Werner, Irene Ziegler. If one of these loved ones is yours, we invite you to rise so that we may recognize the memory of your loved one. Zichrono livracha, may their memories forever be a blessing. And we now invite everyone to rise and to stand with our mourners for Kaddish Yatom, the Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on page 598. Yit Gadal ve'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Bi'alma Divra Chirute V'yamlich Malchute, B'chaye Chon Uvyome Chon, U'v'chaye D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala Uvizman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehe Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Omei Amaya. Yit Barach V'yishtabach V'yit Pa'ar V'yit Romam V'yit Naseh. V'yit Hadar V'yit Aleh V'yit Halal Shemei D'Kudasha Barichu. Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata, damiram be'alma ve'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. And on this Shabbat, as we've come together to end our week and welcome in this day of rest and hopefully a weekend of rest, we turn to page 657. Page 657, we're changing things up. I invite you, though, as Rabbi Reinhardt spoke about this Jewish American Heritage Month, that yes, please continue to learn and find new facts. And I'll point you towards our United Hebrew Facebook page for every single day of this month. You will find some sort of tidbit about the American Jewish community. And tomorrow, maybe even focus a little bit on that derby that's going to be in the evening. And there's quite a bit of Jewish history with the derby and even modern times with the derby. And we end Shabbat services with a prayer for peace, that peace will come to us and that peace will come to our world. Od Yavo Shalom.
Shalom Aleinu, O Yavo Shalom Aleinu, O Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Al Kulam. O Yavo Shalom Aleinu, O Yavo Shalom Aleinu, O Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Al Kulam. Shalom Aleinu Al Kulam. Salem, 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 Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salem, Salem. O Yavo Shalom Aleinu, O Yavo Shalom Aleinu, O Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. O Yavo Shalom Aleinu, O Yavo Shalom Aleinu, O Yavo Shalom Aleinu ve'al kulam. Salem, Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salem, 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 Aleinu Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Shabbat Shalom.